Hello guys, Nigel here, Nigel's Modelling Bench, and thanks for tuning in. And here we are with part 8 of the Land Rover build at last. I just had a look on the system, and yeah, it's over a month ago, January the 14th, since I did any work on this. So yeah, I think you'll be glad to see this back. I've had a few people asking when it's coming back, so I thought I'd do a quick video. I'm looking for reference for the Wimmick. Here's the Wimmick. Now I've got it all in a bag. Okay, so what I've done, I've separated all the parts out because there are quite a few differences. So I've got all the Wimmick parts here in a bag, and I'll work on that when I get the reference material I need, because there's a lot wrong with it and I don't want to build it wrong, because I think a lot of the stuff that's wrong with it is very easily corrected, and then I can show you guys what's wrong with it and how to correct it. But I need to find out what's actually wrong with it. Somebody did actually send me a message a little while ago and they told me that the seats are in the wrong position and one of the gun mounts is too high or something, but I need to find out exactly what's what. So we'll put that to one side for now and we'll concentrate on this one, because I know where I'm going with this. Stuff like we've got the radio boxes on the front wings, I'm going to get rid of them. I'm going to have this as sort of a sort of army camp, you know, go for a vehicle sort of thing. So it's not going to have any seats in the back. It's not going to have any radio antenna and stuff on it, but I probably will put the these vent things, these whatever they are, these vents on the side. I'm ashamed to say I don't know what they are, but I'll probably put them on. Obviously we're going to put the little bumpers on the back end. We've got the radio equipment going inside. I'm not sure if I'll put that in, we'll see. Not exactly sure what that is. I think that's the spare wheel holder, isn't it? So that'll be going in, because we'll have the spare wheel mounted to the side. And obviously we've got our under bonnet greeblies here. Got the water tank. This is the water tank for the engine. We've got the washer reservoir there. We've got the brake master cylinder, top hose. There's the heater enclosure there. And then we've got our pedals, gear stick. Not quite sure what those 4 little buttons there are for, but we shall see. I don't think they're going to be tyre valves, but we'll see what they are. And then we'll just carry on from there. Got a mirror there. There's the Land Rover badge that goes on the grille, which is a nice touch. I think that's probably the centre mount for the wheel there. And then we've got a radiator grille. Not sure what they are. They look, oh, that's part of the radio mast, I think, isn't it? I'm not sure what they are. I'll have to have a look in a minute. Decals there. We've got the roll cage, which I've cut in half, obviously, because we've gone from the long wheelbase to the short wheelbase. I'll be doing some work on that in this video and showing you how we're going to make all that up and make it fit. We've obviously got our seats, radiator, fan, steering wheel and column, bulkhead, roof, which is obviously going to have to be shortened. Doors here, I've got them this way up, showing you some massive ejector pin marks in them, which have been filled. Bumper here, I can't remember if I told you in the last video or not. The bumper actually has 2 bolt heads moulded onto it. It's actually incorrect. There's a weld-on flange that goes on that actually bolts onto the chassis. So if you want to do that little mod on yours, adds a little bit of interest and adds a bit of correct detail to it. Then we've got the front grille here. These are the side stiffeners that go in the sides here. They've been cut down to length. Exhaust, which obviously needs a matte coat and some rust applied. I've done this because on mine, my exhaust is like it's not stainless steel, it's not aluminium, it's like an aluminized steel or something, so it just rusts in certain areas, so it's kind of patchy. So I've done that to kind of give it a silver and rust look, and then once it's had some rust pigment and some matte varnish applied, I think that'll look pretty realistic. Obviously the engine here all done, that's going to have a wash and everything, get that all sorted out. We've got our wheels and tyres, obviously bonnet, inner wings. Now on mine, because mine's a late model, these are plastic. On earlier models they were like zinc plated steel, so they'll be painted silver. I'm sure the army wouldn't have had plastic on theirs. So yeah, and obviously we've got our clear parts here. So let's get the bench cleared off. Oh, headlight guards here. I don't think I'll be using them. We'll have a look, but I don't think I'll be using them. I don't like the look of those. So basically, I'm going to get all this together and get out of the way now, and then I'll get it all together in different categories for painting, because a lot of this is just going to be painted in like a semi-gloss black. I'll probably use XF85 tyre black on like the seats and the radiator and the steering wheel and all that, and then add some highlights to it all afterwards. So let's get on with it and then see where we go from here. Okay, so this is like about half an hour later now, or an hour even. I've done a little bit more research, and what I've discovered is that even if I don't want to have the radio boxes on, the Land Rovers I've looked at, they sort of have this flat mounting plate in there. So I was going to sand all this off, but I'm going to put it back on. I'm also going to use these air intakes here. I'm not exactly sure what they are, but I'm going to use them anyway because there are no features on the wings whatsoever, so you would have had at least one side. There would have been something there, I think. So what we're doing now is just sanding these seats. I was doing some sanding. I thought I'll just come on and talk to you about sanders. If you remember in the last video, in part 7, I complained, well, I did a test of these. These are the Inverness zebra sticks. These are the sponges here, and then you've got the small ones, which is like this one here, which is the Matador. Now I love these Matador sticks, they're bloody brilliant. They're very hard, very rigid, and nice and small, and they don't, it says on the packet they don't wear out, and they pretty much don't wear out. They've become a little more fine, but it's certainly still a sanding stick, and it's not all ripped up and gashed up and everything. So I'll have to be getting myself some more of those soon because they're wearing out, because I'm using them so much. But no, these zebra sticks, as I said in my review, what I'm finding is as soon as you use it, like if you look at this area here hasn't been used. If I were to go and now sort of come along the edge of this bonnet and just remove these sprue nibs, and they're really good for this because they're so hard that they don't sort of undercut or anything. When you're trying to get a smooth surface or a flat surface, you want something hard. You don't want to be using a sponge, because what you'll do is just sand in between the raised areas as well. So without any pressure, just letting the stick do the work, you can see I can get rid of those sprue nibs and end up with a really nice sharp clean edge. But what I was trying to show you here was that once I use this, straight away it loses some of its grip. Like that area there is now coarser than this area here, and all I've done is rub that. But if I now continue to use that area of the stick on here, okay, so we've got that one done. Then I come along and use the same area of the stick on these seats, get rid of the sprue nibs around there, like so. Okay, and then do the same around the side of these. Get rid of the mould seams, like this. You should see I'm pushing quite hard now to get rid of these mould seams. Just get rid of the step and level it all out. And as you can see, what I'm trying to show you here, and I need to excuse myself, because when I said that I didn't think these sticks were very good, I was wrong. Because as you can see, although it wore down straight away, it hasn't got any worse. If I wipe it on the jeans, you can see we've got this sort of greeny colour coming through, but it's still a very good abrasive. It's not at all wearing anymore. So I was wrong in what I said, that they wear down and they seem to wear very quickly. They don't. Again, using the same area, you can see it's tearing that up lovely, and it's only a 400 grit. It's not a particularly coarse stick. It's not fine by any stretch of the imagination, but it's not coarse, so you can see it's ripping this up lovely. Okay, so yeah, please disregard what I said in my last video. They're lovely. And then what I can do there is come in with this Infinity 800 sponge, go around, and that'll give you a lovely smooth rounded off finish to all the seats. Then if you've seen my reviews on these sticks, you'll know how much I love them. I don't really tend to use anything else now, other than I do still use the Flory skinny sticks, because they're like in a world of their own. I don't think there's an alternative to them. But these Infinity sticks, I really do like them. I don't even use them all. I only use a couple out of each pack. I tend to use the 800 and the 1000 sponge. I tend to use, that's the only zebra stick I've used, and the Matadors I only really use the 400 and the 600. So you look at all the modelling I do, it's quite incredible really. So I'm just going to polish that up now with a very light run over with that sponge, just to get rid of any sanding marks, although the sanding marks won't show through the primer anyway. Now I need to get in between here now, because we've got a little bit of a raised nib, so that's where these little Matador sticks come in very handy. They actually, it's like it's made for it. Look, it absolutely perfectly fits between those two steps. I don't know what they're there for. It won't go in between those two. So then we're going to use one of these little photo etched ones. We can just get in there with that and get rid of that sprue nib on there. So there we go. And we've also got a bit of flash along the front edge. Just going to use the sponge just to take that corner off, because on a real Land Rover that is not a sharp corner. Another sprue nib there, look, so I'm going to come along the angle, make sure it's stay on the right angle, and using the 400 grit, just sand that away, and then polish it up with a sponge. Remember, the Land Rovers, there's no real sharp edges anywhere, everything is kind of radiused off and rounded off. Alright, so there we go. So I'll get some more sanding done. I also need to get in and sand off these this Mr. Surfacer from these ejector pin marks. As you can see, that zebra stick makes short work of that. So I'll be back in a minute once I've got myself ready to start doing some work on this roll cage. Right, a little bit more work done. One thing to note, if you're doing the same as me and building both kits, for some reason the hole in the center of the Wimmick spare wheel is bigger than this one. So you've got this this hub that goes in there, wherever it is. There it is. There's this hub part that goes in, and the idea is that it goes in the back, okay, and then this part goes in here, right, and then that glues on the side of the hard top. But however, you can see this part is so long, it needs to be shortened down, because otherwise it's going to stick out a mile in the center, so that needs sorting out. So we're going to have to shorten that. I can get that back apart. It's quite a good fit. Just get that back apart, and we'll shorten that in a minute. I've glued the pedals in. They're a lovely fit in there, so they've gone in. I've done some cleaning up of some parts and getting them ready to spray black. That's obviously got to be sprayed green. I've glued the steering column onto the dashboard. The steering wheel there, I've just seen it's got a bit of flash, and what I'm going to do with that is run round that with some extra thin, and that will clean out any mould seams or flash that's in there, like so. Okay, so the seats are ready to be painted black. We've got the door mirrors there. Front grille, I've put the little part on that has the Land Rover badge, that's down there, and that I've cleaned the top off, got rid of the I think I've got rid of it, and maybe a slight mark left, and then that's got to be painted green. The bulkhead's got to be painted green. The wings, I've put these air intakes on the side here, so that involves some drilling. The bonnet, looking at my reference pictures, even though I've never seen one of these with a spare wheel on, they seem to have the mountings for the spare wheel, and those 4 little blocks there are just to support the tyres. So you could actually have the spare wheel on the bonnet if you wanted to, but why would you? I've never seen one like it. I'm not going to put the shovel and the axe on the bonnet, but I have noticed that this part here, these holes here, are where the axe mounts. Now if I just cut this length of sprue away, what I'm going to do here, you can see I've already cut the ends off. This is the axe head in its mount, so I've already cut the ends off, and I just need to sand those flat like so. Let's get rid of that. Now the center part, that remains with the wing nut on the top, so what we need to do is remove the center part of the axe, or sorry, either side of the center part of the axe. Remove all that like so, and then we can come in with a knife and give it a clean up. like that. So that's that done. I'm going to get one of my photo etch sanding sticks and get that down in there and clean that up like so. And I'll also have to thin down that a bit, so I'll do that off camera. But then we need to actually cut some channels into this to make it more realistic. So I'm going to cut the raised portion off the top like so. So that's that cut off, and I'm going to sand that square. It might be quicker to actually scratch build this from the start. Now what I'm going to do is drill the ends here, and then I'm going to square out the holes, because it's actually like two. I'm not telling you to F off. It's like two V's like this that the axe slides down in between. So I'll drill them out, and then I'll square them up, and I'll come back. And there we go, guys. There it is. Cut all the axe out of it. It's just shit you can see there in the focus. And then put the slots in the ends. So that's basically how it looks when it's on there with no axe in it. So so there we go. So that can get glued onto that wing now in those holes. So we can just remove the sprue like so. And for the newer modelers out there, it's often a good way to hold parts is cut a section of the sprue away with the part on it, and it gives you something else to hold on to. So it's this wing it's going on, and we've got a large pin and a small pin. So for some reason they've got it directional. I don't know why, because it's symmetrical. So I'm just going to put a couple of drops of glue in behind. And there we go. Just give it a nudge down. There we are. That's down on there properly now. So that's that wing done. We've got the radio box thing on there. So that's that done now with that there. This wing's got nothing on the top of it, so that's fine. And now I need to run my nearest submissive servicer, but first let's have a look at this roll cage. Put the top back on the glue. Now this is obviously the main hoop. Now the Winnet kit is where the bulkhead fits into the body. It's got like half circles in the sides. Well, obviously this is going on in a different place now because we've cut it, or I've cut it, should I say. So what I've done is I've sanded away the ends of it's like a round pin on the end. So I've sanded away the sides because there's no hole for them to go into. So they're sanded away now. So all we've got is the sort of the pin on the front that will go into the back of the bulkhead like so. So I'm going to put that in place and see if I can hold it there with some tape. Because if I can, I want to build the roll cage up and then take it off for painting. But if that's not possible, we'll have to do it all in situ, I guess. Put that tape around there like that. And then this side, do the same. Yeah, that's not going to work at all. So I'm probably going to have to glue it in place. Maybe I'll try a bit of blue tack. Well, that works. Just take that tape off of there. Just push a blob of blue tack into the corner. And that's holding that in place. We just eye it up, make sure it's vertical. We could use the, if you've got a 6-inch rule, you can use that as a square. Just put that on top of the body and make sure the cage is in there square like so. Okay, now the back half, the rear section of the cage, I've actually cut in half, and you can see what I've done is actually, where are we now? That's the one I want. What I've done is, this is the actual part that goes onto the main hoop. You can see these tabs here, they're for the wheel mounting. So they would fit like that normally. So I've cut that off and I've sanded this down because I want to use this part of the roll cage on the front, and at the back we don't have this this 45-degree rod going forward on the short wheelbase. So what I want to do is fit this into the corner like so. So I'm going to cut that mounting lug off the bottom of there because there's no hole for it now. If you remember, we filled those in because they were in the wrong place. So that will now fit in there like that, but as you can see, it needs to go further forward. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut the cage here and put a piece in. So what I'll do initially is just, in fact I'll use a saw. I can actually use cutters. Cut that off of there. Excuse my throat, guys, there's some, I think I must be coming down with a cold or something because it's the throat keeps drying up. So that's going to glue onto the back of the roll cage there, like so, and then that part there will sit on the, in fact let me put a drop of glue in there. And then that's going to sit, that's going to go into that groove, like so, and not stay there because it doesn't want to. And then we can sit that on the top of the body there. We'll just add a bit more glue and that melts what was already there, so it falls off, all because the camera's on. There we go. And then we can do the same for the other side. That's the wrong one. That's the one for the other side. So we can cut that sprue off of there, cut that there. And then on this side what we're going to do is glue the tubes together where they meet. I didn't cut that lug off, did I, on the bottom of there? And then they can come together. That needs sanding off. There we go. Had some flash on there. So what I'm going to do is, you get the idea. I'm going to have to do this off camera because it's impossible for me to do this and you'll be able to see it, so it's just going to be all hands. So I'll come back when I've done it. Right, so there we go. So that's the main hoop held in with blue tack. I've checked it again for square with a rule. And then I've put a blob of super glue in there as a filler because the end of that tube there is an awful shape. It's covered in flash and everything, so basically just done that. So now they're just sat on there, they're not glued down yet. That's obviously held in with blue tack. Those points there were glued, so that's just going to sit there now and dry. And what I'll do then is I have the rear hoops here. Or what I could do is use these rear hoops and cut away this bracket because I don't want this piece going down here. So we could just cut that away, and then we could cut away the rest of this bracket here. Let's get rid of that eject tab. Cut away the rest of that bracket there, so, and then clean that up. And then what we could do is actually put this in and splice it into that one, cut this tube off. So basically what we're doing is cutting somewhere along there, and then that will sit in like so. There we go, that'll sit like that. Okay, or we could just use the original ends and just add a piece in. Get rid of that sprue tab, add a piece in like so. So in fact I may well do that because those brackets do look a lot nicer than having one of these hacked up. So I'll come back when I've done that and let you know what my decisions were. So if you want to do this roll cage the same as I've done it, I'll show you how. This part here, G20, that's your front main hoop. You leave that, don't do anything with it other than file away these parts at the side. But that'll become obvious when you build your model if you're doing it the same as me. This part here, what I did here, I cut through there, okay, to remove these two halves of the roll cage. What I've done then is glued, I cut here on that side. I've glued this part here, so that's this part here is this here, okay, so I've glued that to the back of the roll cage and I've glued it to the other side here. You saw me do that just now, okay, so that's that done. With the back here, what I've done is cut this off of here, sanded away that smudge, and I didn't do that, I actually cut it a little bit too short when I cut it off just now. But on this side, I cut this top I cut this top hoop off and then sanded this round so that I had a long length, and then I offered this up against here and cut that off, okay, so that it met here. Okay, so I cut this junction off the end of here, so cut through there, butt those two together, and that's what you end up with. Okay, now I just need to give that a little tweak because I can see that it's gone slightly out of line. I've actually glued this together with quick setting Tamiya thin, so it's obviously able to just move a touch while it dries. But when the hard top's on, we're not going to see any of this anyway. It's the hard top, or wherever it is, it's just going to go over and it's going to sort of hide it, or you'll only see when you look through the back door, and I'll have the doors closed, I think. So there we go, so that's the roll cage done. If you want to bother doing that, then that's the way I've done it. Cut it off there, and then just shovel it all up together. This main hoop across the top, I guess, should be in the middle. It's slightly forward, but we're not going to worry about that. So so there we go. I've also glued the windscreen to the bulkhead for ease of painting. It makes it all one piece. And the way to do that, just to make sure it's in the correct alignment, is clip the door hinges into the bulkhead and make sure the windscreen is aligned with the door. Okay, and if you get a fit like that, that'll be better than Land Rover did on my real one. So on the subject of my real one, if you've seen my channel, I've changed the name slightly because my favourite Land Rover on YouTube is a guy called Damien. He's in Australia, and he's got a channel called Defender 90 Orkney, and I changed mine to Defender 90 Keswick because his is Orkney grey and mine is Keswick green. But I've also added on the end there Nigel's Land Rover channel, so if you search for Nigel's Land Rover channel, you'll find it there, and you'll see that basically my Land Rover is basically in that state at the moment, and I'm just making brackets up to bolt to the chassis so that I can flip the chassis over and work on it. I want to try and straighten the rear cross member and also get rid of all the surface rust all over it, and then that's what's going to get a pressure wash and everything, then degrease, and then it's going to be painted, and then I'll wax oil it all again, and this time, because I can flip it over, I can wax oil it upside down and make sure that the wax really does get into everywhere. So that's the next job. At the moment the weather is absolute pants here in the UK. We've had Storm Dennis in. It blew. My rear tub is actually something like this without the seat box, and it's sat on a wooden frame on wheels. If you go to my channel, you'll see it, and I've covered it over with a car cover and strapped it on with ratchet straps, and I went out this morning and it actually blown it across the driveway. So it pulled it out of the corner of the driveway and it blew it across the driveway, and it was inches away from my car, so that would have really pissed me off if it had hit my car, not the Mustang, my other one. So so there we go, that's Storm Dennis. It's calmed down now, but there's a lot of poor people in South Wales that are being rescued in helicopters and 4x4s and boats and all sorts. I just feel sorry for all the farm animals that probably will have lost their lives, and yeah, it's terrible. It's a terrible state of affairs. They've had a month's rain in 48 hours in South Wales, so yeah, and then all over the north as well, there's people flooded out. It's a terrible situation, but anyway, So I'll carry on with this. I'm going to let this roll cage go off, and I'm going to do what's doing. While that's happening, I'm going to do some painting, and I also need to choose what green I'm going to use. There we go. That's the black paint all done. I gave that a coat of Tamiya XF85 rubber black, and I've dusted over it with X18 satin black to give it a little bit of a satin sort of shade, so it's not a total cover of either colour really, so it's got a sort of slight sheen. And I think I'll play around with some matte and gloss varnishes, and just to make a bit of a difference to the shades, like on the knob and the stick and the rubber there on the gear shift and stuff. So have a little play with that later on. Dashboard there with the steering column on. These I've done, I gave those a coat of the XF85 black, and then they've had a coat of XF56 thinned with Mr. Colour Leveling Thinner, just to give them that sort of metallic-y sort of galvanised zinc plated finish that they had. If I'm wrong, somebody please tell me, but I don't think the Land Rovers in the army would have had plastic wheel arch liners. I've done the fan and the water bottle there white. I'm going to have to run with some white paint on this, on the brake reservoir, and also a little dab of yellow paint on the top of there to show the cap as well. But basically, yeah, we've got the header tank there, we've got the heater, the mirrors here, handbrake, high-low, and diff lock. And then we got the main gear stick there, hose, interior mirror, brake master cylinder, and everything there. So all in all coming together really well. Roll cage is drying. As I say, I did this with Tamiya quick setting, so I'm going to leave this at least 24 hours before I play with it and start dealing with the seams. I think I'll put another dab of super glue on this centre seam here, because that's got a bit of a gap in it still. So we can literally take our... Where's our super glue? It's fallen over. There it is. This is the Expo glue I like to use. This is the medium viscosity. Seems to last forever. I've had this stuff ages. It doesn't go off like the Zap stuff does. So there we go. So that's that little drop of glue in there. So that can be left to dry and then be sanded out. So I'll leave that in the tub there. It's not glued in, it's only held in with blue tack, so that can all go off now. And that, if I push that blue tack in and I make sure there's no super glue there, then we should see that this will fit over there absolutely fine. It's getting stuck on that blue tack there. Let's just move that out of the way, push the back down in. So we should see that with this on, that will fit on there absolutely fine, like so. So that's all got plenty of clearance in there to go on. So the blue tack is still getting in the way, but never mind. Little bit of plastic rod fell out there. So yeah, there's the roll cage done. As I said, I'm not going to put the seats in. I've got these stiffeners that go in. They were fitted along with the roll cage, sort of, because this is all aluminium on the real thing, and obviously that would all just fold in with a heavy roll, so that's where they fitted that. I've got some super glue on the roof there, so I'll just get my sponge and just sand that off. There we go. So yeah, there we go guys. So that's that. In the next part, what we'll do is we'll finish off the roll cage. We'll get the tub and everything painted. In the meantime, if someone can help me please, I want to do this British Army green. Obviously it's going to be a modern army green. I don't have a clue which colour to use. So if someone could please tell me, I'd be very, very grateful. And then I can get everything painted, get the bumper, obviously the tub, the doors and everything. That's all got to be painted green, and the wheels. And I want to make sure I use the right colour green. I don't want to start saying I've used this green. Everyone says, oh no, that's the wrong colour. I want it to look right. There's a lot of work and effort gone into this model. It needs to look right, and you know, I think it's worth spending the time on. So thanks for watching. This has been part 8, I believe. So yeah, thanks for watching, and thank you to everybody that's donated to me this month. It's very, very generous of you, and you'll see your names rolling up now. So thanks very much again guys. Happy modelling. I'll see you all soon. Bye for now.